Thank you, Alyssa. Can everybody hear me go all right? Okay. Good morning. As Alyssa stated, my name is Michael Jones. I'm the Chief Development Officer at HPC Wireless Services. I'm speaking to you today as a follow-up to our recent first annual Northeast Safety Summit we held at February 4th in Terrytown, New York. The impetus for the first annual news event was to keep the focus on safety in our industry. One of the primary core values at HPC Wireless Services is safety, and while that is great to have as one of your core values, we want to take it a step further. We didn't want to just focus on tower safety, but safety in general in our industry. When I spoke in the news event, I referenced a 25-year-old Seth Garner and a 38-year-old Martin Powers of St. Peters, Missouri. These two men woke up one morning in 2014 and had every intention of returning home safe that day. They did not make it home safe. On March 19th of 2014, Chad Weller of Stevensville, Maryland, also expected to return home from a rainy day of work where he was improperly prepared with a safety harness too large for him to safely work that day, and he also failed to make it home safe that day. 2 weeks ago, a man working on a rooftop in Baltimore, Washington, fell 2 stories, seriously injuring himself, sending him to the hospital. And this past Sunday, this weekend, March 28th, 2015, it is reported that a 28-year-old woman, Stephanie Gurney, fell 200 feet to her death from a tower in San Angelo, Texas. It is yet to be confirmed if she's currently working in the tower industry. In 2013, there were 13 tower deaths in the telecom industry. In 2014, there were 11 tower deaths. In 2015, that rate is at 0, pending this week's investigation. Construction workers in the telecommunications industry are 10 times more likely to die than workers in the rest of the construction industry. In 2014, OSHA ranked tower climbers as the most dangerous job in the U.S., surpassing some of the standard jobs you would expect to be on that list. 2% of the estimated 10,000 individuals in the telecom industry climbing workforce will be impacted with injuries from their job this year, or approximately 1,300 people. Safety in our industry is not just related to tower work. This is related to vehicle safety, travel to job sites, equipment setup, use of machinery and tools, unsafe workplace activity, both on interior deployments as well as rooftops. Close proximity to equipment exposure, ladder falls, improper safety with tools seem to be still a common occurrence. In addition, falls off of scissor lifts, a standard piece of equipment used in our industry, have accounted for 2 of the construction deaths so far this year outside of the telecom industry. While there are usually reasons used to justify these injuries, most are preventable. At the end of 2013, the National Association of Tower Erectors, or NATE, was integral in organizing the Telecommunications Industry Safety Summit, which was held to work to address industry safety concerns and bring focus to these tower deaths. In 2014, continuing on this course, the Wireless Industry Safety Task Force was formed and initiated the campaign 100% Tie-Off 24/7. In February of 2015, last month, the Industry Safety Task Force formed the National Wireless Safety Alliance. The task force that established the alliance consists of the 5 largest carriers in the U.S., 3 largest vertical realtors, and all the prominent general contractors and OEMs, as well as NATE and tower climbers. Industry companies and workers will be encouraged to continue to utilize the training pathways of their choice. Only now the NWSA will serve as the official national assessment and certification arm after industry workers receive their training. Also coming up this May through the 15th, May 4th through the 15th, OSHA has organized the National Safety Stand Down. The purpose of the National Safety Stand Down is to raise awareness of preventing fall hazards in construction. Fatalities caused by falls from elevations continue to be a leading cause of death for construction workers, accounting for 279 of the 806 construction fatalities recorded in 2012. Those deaths were preventable. Fall prevention standards were among the top 10 frequently cited OSHA standards during the fiscal year of 2014. The goal of this intended stand down is 20,000 stand downs across the U.S. to educate more than 3 million workers. If they hit that goal this year, that will impact 4 out of every 10 construction workers in this country, not just in our industry, but of all construction workers in this country. While all these are very important initiatives that I've outlined so far and things that have taken place in the industry, There needs to be an equal focus from carriers, towercos, OEMs, PMOs within the industry on the current trend towards service providers and general contractors in the industry. The topic of driving down deployment costs and its impacts does not seem to get mentioned during these summits and conferences on safety. While wireless leases continue to escalate, steel and equipment and material prices increase, attorneys' fees and insurance rates continue to rise, service provider rates and construction prices continue to get driven down. As the construction rates continue to drop, there is the expectation of the same level of service and quality from all these service providers. As the prices continue to drop, there always seems to be a service provider or GC that is willing to engage at these lower rates no matter how far they seem to drop within the industry. In addition, there's a continued drive to impose unpaid equipment training from our clients and added unpaid industry safety training. This is considered the cost of doing business. In addition, with an emphasis on driving pre-construction design costs down, it leaves more and more emphasis on field decisions for the construction deployment teams. If we are going to have a true effectiveness of this open discussion on safety, it needs to include all aspects of telecommunication deployment, not just tower crew safety. When smaller companies are forced to incur more safety training and more deployment training added to the lower and lower build revenues for equipment installs, something has to give. Keep in mind, no company that I'm aware of sends their deployment crews out with the assumption that the crew will not come back safe that day or not come back at all. Some of these companies' actions may fly in the face of that end result, but the intent is just not there for unsafe conditions. While some do not employ the correct level of safety focus within their organizations, others cannot absorb the cost or carry the overhead required to assure day-to-day preparedness for their crew or crews. While that's not the case with HPC, the problem is real and exists and needs to be addressed. If there's going to be a true focus in the industry of safety, there needs to be an open discussion on how the industry trends are affecting the crews and companies on the front line of the deployment of their infrastructure. We welcome and embrace the increased focus at the higher levels of the telecommunications industry and welcome the dialogue that will come on some of these issues that I've outlined earlier. At HPC, we are currently in the process of planning the second annual Northeast Safety Summit for February of 2016 to continue to expand the dialogue beyond the upper tiers of our industry and take safety beyond just tower safety to all aspects of safety in deploying infrastructure. Our hope is as we approach February of next year, we are still at 0 for the 2015 fatalities and injuries are on the decline, with the exception of this weekend when that investigation is completed. In closing, I'd like to thank the NEDAS organization for continuing to bring focus to the telecom industry, Miller for assisting HPC Wireless Services in putting together the first annual news event, all of our sponsors that help with the news event, and the attendees that helped to get the event off the ground this year. Please continue to support the organizations that work hard to assist families impacted by tower fatalities. Bridget Hester with the Hubble Foundation at www.hubblefoundation.org works tirelessly to help families of those impacted by tower deaths, as well as the Tower Family Foundation at www.towerfamilyfoundation.org. In addition, please look for upcoming information on the sponsorship and attendance for the second annual Northeast Safety Summit, or as we call it, NEWS, to be held in February of 2016 on LinkedIn and at the hashtags NEWWS or hashtag It's Your Life on Twitter. For additional safety information, please visit the OSHA website at www.osha.gov and the NATE website at www.natehome.com. Again, thank you for your time and listening, and hopefully we'll continue through this year safe and at a 0 death rate, which is the goal of this overall industry as well as the organizations that work within it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Hey, Mike, did you want to take any questions? If anybody had any questions about anything? All right. Okay, we do have a question. One question coming up.
Hi, Mike. John Solentano. Where's the teeth? I mean, by that I mean, where's the enforcement of rules and regulations? Is it at OSHA? Is it the new initiative with NATE? Where's the enforcement? And even with enforcement, we see fines that are levied that are almost laughable. You know?
I think through the new initiative and the organization that's been framed, I think that's the first start to this. As I said, I don't think, while it's a great first step, and I think it's an important first step, as the initiatives that I talked about earlier, there's got to be a combination of this, because I do not think the tower industry has a bunch of rogue people that on a regular basis just go out there assuming there's a 50-50 shot they're going to come back. So I think Nate has helped to facilitate that. I think OSHA is ultimately responsible for enforcing that and making sure that they continue to update the guidelines. I don't think the impact should be to the bottom line on a lot of these deployments. Are there sometimes smaller contractors that are greatly impacted by a lot of these fees and associated training and associated, carrier enforcement of training. And I think that's got to be addressed when you talk about this, because it's not, again, the carriers and the tower companies, while they're responsible for their deployments and the deployments on their infrastructure, they're not the front line who's deploying this equipment. So the deaths that are impacted, whether it was a tie-off issue, and a lot of these are tie-off issues, but we're not reporting on a lot of the issues on rooftops, on people that are injured on rooftops, on emissions where someone doesn't know when an antenna is broadcasting, or depending on if it's a high-powered antenna or not. I think OSHA is trying to step that up, and I think we have the attention of the industry. But again, it's got to go further, and I think it's got to be driven down to the front lines. And I'm not sure that while this is a great first step, I think the initiative has to be there beyond there to make sure that that the training is there for everyone, but the impact to the frontline people is addressed. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Any other questions? The people here in the back of the room, you don't have to be so shy. You can walk up the stairs. It's okay. All right. Well, thanks so much, everybody. And we're going to transition to our next presentation. So just be a couple of minutes. So feel free to chat.